Good evening, everyone. We are now in perhaps one of the most famous chapters in the book of Proverbs, and that will be chapter 31. And chapter 31 it appears as a section on its own, and it is entitled the words of King Lemuel, the utterance which his mother taught him. Now, this is the beginning of a first portion, and let's just break this down before we get to understand it. The words here would be the matters, the issues. This word King Lemuel. Now, King Lemuel really has a, how should we say? It's a different name, and it's associated with Solomon. It is called King Lemuel, or Lemuel the King. And Lemuel really means to God, to El, right? To God. It might be another name, or in our modern day, could be a nickname concept of Solomon, and it refers to the utterance. The word utterance here really means a burden. A burden, or I guess you could say a tribute. Something that you need to remember, which is mother. The mother had, well, in this case, the word taught is not about teaching, it is about admonishing. Admonishing or correcting him. And so this is likely to be looking at a situation where King Solomon remembers some very vivid period of time in his life. And according to the Jews, they refer this to the time where he was a young king, where he assumed the throne, and he was inaugurating the temple. But one of the things that you need to understand is that there is a Hebrew concept where the mother herself gives advice to Solomon. And you could see that very clearly in the book of First Kings. Right, the book of First Kings. Now, if you recall, it was the mother who set up the opportunity and the throne for Solomon to take over from David. And so that is a period where perhaps Solomon remembers clearly. And this is something that the mother was correcting him. So what, my son? Son of my womb, and what son of my vows? These words are quite interesting because it is a very intimate what I call it, intimate reference to Solomon. How closely related this mother is to him. And most interestingly, it's regarding the instruction a mother has for a son. It says, "Do not give your strength to women, nor your ways to that which destroys kings." And so these are the mother's advice to a king. So the first thing here is with regards to his personal life. It says here, do not give strength This would be, I guess, do not give your strength, your virtue, or your how else can you explain this? Your well, I guess you could. Well, one of the words is here is wealth, right? Do not give your wealth, your virtue to women. Now, women here is in the plural and likely to be wives, right? Likely to be wives. Uh, and it is an admonishment to Solomon to be careful with his wives. Nor your ways. This means his journeys. And if you which destroys kings. This word here means to blot out. This is a very crucial word. To blot out means to blot out of memory. So basically, don't do things which causes people to forget, even kings. Now, people remember kings because they are the most powerful. But when they do things which causes people to forget about kings, it means that they are so bad and nobody really wants to bother with him anymore. So that is the word for destroy. It is not for kings, O Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes intoxicating drink. The word wine here is literally wine. How would you say? These are alcohol with alcohol. So the idea here is do not be under the influence of alcohol. Intoxicating drink means strong drink. And so it says it is not for kings to drink wine nor princes intoxicating drink. This is an A and a B. It is for Lemuel not to be under influence of alcohol. Now, the reason here is that it is not just any reason given saying that no, don't drink alcohol, but the idea here is when they drink, they tend to forget the law and pervert justice for all the afflicted. This is the very reason why the mother is advising Lemuel not to get close to the influence of alcohol. The first thing here is that they might drink, and then they forget the law. What exactly does that mean? They drink. The word forget is cease to care. And the word law here doesn't really mean the Torah, right? It really means to forget the things that has been engraved, right? Things that has been what has been decreed. Meaning, as a king, the words that come out of your mouth becomes law of the land. And so the mother is saying that when you drink, you may not be concerned anymore about what you have said that becomes law. And then it says, and pervert the justice of all the afflicted. The word pervert, pervert actually means to alter, to change, right? And this word here, justice of all. The word justice really means judgment. Judgment, or the claim, right? Or the claim. And that's important for us to understand, that the idea here is for the king to be careful in what he says. The claim, and if you recall, claim are when people are afflicted, they bring a suit. And the afflicted means the sons of poverty. People who are poor, who are afflicted, brings a claim. The mother is afraid that when that happens, he is not able to judge. And so the idea here is that that's a fear of losing justice, which is so important to the king. And so the advice here is, do not at any time when you're in public lose your control or your self-control to the influence of alcohol, because what they say may cause them to trip and become another person, so to speak. Verse 6, give strong drink to him who is perishing, wine to those who are bitter of heart. Now, these also, again, is an A and a B. Perishing, bitter of heart. It's a nuance of an emphasis. Strong drink and wine, just as we have seen, strong drink is highly intoxicating. To him who is perishing. The word perishing means one who is going to be destroyed, right? To be destroyed. Bitter of heart, on the other hand, is one with a bitter soul. Bitter would really be a heavy and discontented. And the word heart here means nephesh. And so the idea here is wine causes one to forget misery. And so it is not for one who has important things to do. That is how it is expressed here by the mother. Let him drink and forget his poverty and remember his misery no more. And so you see this, let him, this one who is perishing, who is bitter of heart, the idea of forget is to I guess you can say, ignore his poverty. And again, the word poverty here is intense poverty. Okay, intense poverty really would say that a person has a loss of goods, right? Loss of goods. And remember his misery no more. This whole idea is that he would not remember whatever has happened to him, remember his trouble no more. So the idea here is same again, to forget. And so the way for some of these people to forget is not that the trouble doesn't go away. It is about the memory. It's about what is in his mind that's driving him to depression. Open your mouth for the speechless in the cause of all who are appointed to die. Open your mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy. Now, again, you would see here, what is God concerned about is the poor and the needy. Let's begin from there, verse 9. The poor. Poor means the one who is afflicted, right? Who is humbled, who is humiliated. You could say that, right? The other word, needy, really means who is in want. You can also say that he is very poor and he is in need, in the sense that he needs support. That is what needy and poor means. And here, this is what God has always wanted man to follow. And here for Lemuel, to remember that as a king, he has also to lead and show the discipline and show the example, to take care of those who are poor, who are needy, the orphans, the widows, those who do not have a man to take care of them. And so it says here, to plead the cause. To plead the cause literally means to contend. To contend means to be a defender of the poor and needy. Like that's what it means here. And so it says, open your mouth for the speechless. The speechless means those who are unable to speak. We're not talking about the deaf and dumb here. It means that those who it can mean that, but in this context, it does mean those who have no ability to speak up, right? To speak up for themselves. In the cause of all who are appointed to die. Now, this word is a bit challenged. For a claim of the Son, I think that this word appointed to die would mean all who are the surviving ones. The surviving ones imply orphans, meaning the fathers have died. They died for whatever reason. We will not speculate. But the idea here is to plead the cause. Make sure that you hear the plea or claim of those who are orphans, those who cannot speak up for themselves. Open your mouth and judge righteously. Now, this word here, open your mouth and judge righteously, means to be righteous, to be right in judgment. Why is this important? Is because justice needs to be seen and not just heard. And kings are supposed to be judges. We read of how wise King Solomon was to deal with a woman whose child had died and then taken another child to be her own, and the mother claimed it to be her child. And you could see that these are people who are needy, poor, orphans who can't speak for themselves. And the mother here reminds Lemuel that the very important thing in social justice, right? Social justice is to be fair and be fair and just, especially to the orphans, the widows, the poor, the needy. And when Israel didn't do this was when God came to visit them with judgment and punishment. And you read this later on in the prophet books. And that was one of the major reasons of Hamas, why they were dealt so harshly by God. And so in this case, it is an admonishment of Lemuel's mother. And he writes this down as a recollection, as a tribute to the mother. That is important for us to understand, that the first 9 opening verses really describes the key things for a king to always remember, that his subjects have to be treated right in the sight of God, because Solomon, or Lemuel here, is ruling on behalf of God. And that is the crux of the first 9 verses. Now comes the favorite parts of chapter 31. Now, why is it a favorite of everybody? It's because it speaks of a virtuous wife. And so let me begin by giving us a background. Whenever we read texts like this in the Hebrew Bible, I would urge all of us to set aside modern day thinking of definitions of words, modern day culture, modern day concepts of women in society, and look at chapter 31 of the book of Proverbs as something which you have to put yourself into the shoes of this woman. And then you understand what chapter 31 is all about. It has nothing to do with the modern women, the liberated women, the 21st century woman. It's got nothing to do with that. And so if you take the modern concept and apply to chapter 31, we will be really stuck. So let us first understand how the woman here is described. So first of all, let's read chapter 31, verse 10. It says, "Who can find a virtuous wife?" Now, we need to understand this. The word, this is a rhetorical statement anyways, right? It's like, who can find? The word "can find" means who is able to find, who will find, right? So who can find, who will find, who will, I guess here you could use who can get, who will acquire. These are all the words that you can use for who can find. Now, the word for virtuous it's probably different from how you would think. This word really means chayil. Chayil really means one of strength. One of strength, right? One of I guess worth, right? One of strength, one of worth. And the word wife here is an ancient term that literally means woman. Now, right at the onset, I want to remind all of us to understand that the word woman means wife, a married woman. And this is the word isha. And the idea here is, in the ancient days, even in, I guess, Chinese culture, and perhaps even in Indian culture, you find that the man will call the wife my woman, and the wife will call the husband my man. And that's how these words are articulated. Now, today you would say that if a man calls a wife my woman, you might think that, no, he is very arrogant, or very disrespectful of the wife. So don't carry modern day thinking when reading chapter 31, because it's an ancient text and it's ancient society. And so it says here, who is able to find a woman of worth, and by worth here, of strength. And by strength, we do not mean muscles, right? So it's not about talking about a woman with muscles and six packs. It is talking about a woman who has strength of worth in character, right? This really means her character. And so this whole definition from verse 10 all the way to the end describes the character of this woman that the English call virtuous. I would call a woman of worth. All right. And it says here, for her worth is far above rubies. Now, this word worth means her value or her price. Her price is worth far more than precious stones. I think this would be a better word to use. So her worth is actually worth far more. And this word here, far above, is actually far more. Now, in those days, they would compare value to things that they treat of high worth, right? And so precious stones is something which the text contrasts this woman, and that this woman is worth much, much more than precious stones. Not to say that a woman is to be sold, but essentially it is to give sort of a price tag. And you could say that in today's terms, in more contemporary, she is priceless, would be a good way of expressing this concept. So who can find a woman of worth? She is priceless. That would be a good way of understanding verse 10. So as an introduction, this would mean that whatever is described about the woman here is about her character. And her character in this case is not something that happens overnight. She is not like born with it. It will also tell us one thing, that the mother would have taught her as well. And so this is passed down from tradition, generation to generation. So the mother would teach the young woman who is growing up in the tent of the mother to learn how to be a woman of worth. And so if you take the words in chapter 31 in this perspective, it means that the mother is to teach the young child, the young girl who is not married yet, so that the young girl gets married one day and will teach her daughters how to behave. And that would be the description of chapter 31, verse 10. And so it says here, the heart of a husband safely trusts her, so he will have no lack of gain. Now, these words are difficult to translate in English, so let me just break them down a little bit. It says the heart of a husband safely trusts her. If you look at this word, the heart means the mind. Okay? the decisions. The word husband here is not the corresponding word ish. The word husband here means Baal. And Baal means Lord. And the word here, say, of trust, here is batok, means have confidence in her. And he will have no lack of gain. What does it mean? Is that gain in this sense would be, well, I guess you could call it things things he will acquire, right? And this will refer to his wealth. And he will have no lack. No lack means it will not diminish. It would not he would not be lacking. Not be lacking. He would have enough. That's basically what it means. He will have enough. Now, if you break this down in proper English, you would see that the decisions of her husband. Now, in those days, you find that the wife, who is the woman, her head is the man, and the man is called Ish, the woman is called Isha. But in this case, the man is also called Baal. And it means that he would be the lord of the house. And so if you recall in ancient Chinese families, the man is the absolute lord of the house. So I use the word lord, and this is how the book of Proverbs is using the reference to the husband. Baal means he is the absolute ruler of his house. But not that he rules with an iron fist, but he rules his house with confidence in the wife. That is the uniqueness here. So notice that he is not running the household as an absolute tyrant, but he's running the household understanding and recognizing this woman, his wife, with complete confidence. Now, this word safely trusts. Let me just explain this to you. The word safely trust. Think of it of Proverbs Chapter 3, verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. That's the same word that this husband called Lord or master of the house trusts in the judgment of his wife. That's an incredible relationship that he has. So the decisions that he makes, he consults her. And in this case, he would have no lack of gain, that whatever he is acquiring in life, there will be sufficient. Now, by here, we haven't even read the rest of it yet. You could see that the rest of the text from verse 12 onwards will show you why the husband, who is the man, trusts the woman so much, because she is very able. The character of the woman is not just one who learns to cook and sew. Now, that is our modern day thinking. The ancient Chinese thinking is to talk about a woman who is able to go into a kitchen and is able to come out into the hall and entertain. And thereby the woman will be very good. But that's Chinese. In the Hebrew context, in the time of Solomon, they are talking about a woman here of worth, where the woman is able to lend support to the husband, such that the husband, in everything he does, can consult her. And she is no well, I would say she's no dumb blonde, right? He trusts in her in the way that Solomon tells us to trust in the Lord with all your heart. And thereby, in chapter 31, defines this woman of worth. Verse 12. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. What does this mean? Verse 12. Does him good. Now, this word does him good is a bit difficult to understand, but I think it is easier for us to think of it this way. It's not about doing. I think it is important for us to realize that it is to repay. To repay in a way of a relationship, right? To repay him with tov and not ra, right? And not ra. Now understand, this is actually in the eyes of the Baal, of the husband, the Lord, right? And she actually does all this when, not just once or twice, it means all the days of her life. This is lifelong ambition. And so she knows where her focus is on, and he knows how to relate to her. And this is a very important verse. That it is not a one-time thing. It is not a one-moment thing. It's not a one moment in time, but it is all the long life. And so this relationship that the woman knows with the man is for her entire life, in support of him, of doing what is tov and not ra. And with this, you find that this is not a one-hand clap, but both hands together in a way where they are mutually supportive. And so let's begin by looking at verse 13, and then we'll look at a couple of verses. Then you understand that this is an unusual woman. She seeks wool and flax and willingly works with her hands. The idea of seeking here would be to look for something to find, right? Carefully looking, I guess that's with care. And what does she look for? There are two items here. One is wool, probably from the sheep. Flax is something from the plant, and that's used for linen. And so this is actually about weaving. She seeks the materials, and she seeks the best of this, and she willingly works with her hands. Now understand this. The word works means to do things. The word willingly means she is delighted. She is delighted to do all these things using her palms, her hands. And so this is handiwork. Now, in the ancient days, the mother always teaches the daughters what to do and how to do. And those are the things that is inculcated in the young women, so that when they grow up to become wives of their husbands, that they would know how to deal with such things. So this is interesting because of the culture of the day. All right. And this has to do with handiwork. It's about weaving, and they make their own clothes in those days. So you can't, well, they don't go to Lazada or they don't go to the shopping mall to buy clothes. She makes them, right? That's the handiwork. And she makes them for the husband and for the household. Now, this household that we're talking about is not a poor house. This is the average household, a household that possesses maids, that possesses wealth, some form of wealth. Verse 14, she is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. Quite interesting. And so the word here is like. That's the key word. The word like means happens to be. Now, the word merchant ships is really ships that goes about to long distance, goes about to far away places. And she is like these kind of a ship. Means that she's busy, she's going around securing things. And so she brings her food. And the word food here is bread. She brings her bread from a distance, from far away country. And so you know that this is like an A and a B. That she knows how to find the best things, and not only within the land itself, she knows how to secure it from far away lands, right? She knows what is good in life, basically, and knows how to entreat the family in this way. Let's go on to one more verse and then we will take a pause. Verse 15. She also rises while it is yet night, provides food for her household and a portion for her maid servants. The word rise is arise, and typically it is to stand up, right? It means to stand up. But in this context, I think wake up is a good word. So she wakes up while it is yet night. And this is what it means. While the darkness is continuing. This is the translation, right? Yet night means, night is Laila, the name for the dark portion of the day. And the whole idea here is she awakes, well, I guess you could say very early, before, while it's still dark and before the sun is up. Now, that's basically how it's described here. And why does she wake up so early? And verse 15 says that she provides food. And the word provide food literally means to give. To give. And the word food, taref, means fresh. I guess you can say fresh food or fresh meat, right? Fresh meat. This is fresh meat. And the word here is to give fresh meat to her household, to her home, to those in her tent, right? And then also a portion, an allocation to her maid servants. And this would be her female servants that helps her. And so she feeds them very early. It is quite interesting. You would see that she wakes up to prepare fresh food. And notice that, well, in those days, you don't have a refrigerator and there's no microwave oven to reheat what was left over. The concept of food here is something to eat that is freshly made or freshly slaughtered, freshly cut. And that's what she is giving to the people who lives with her in her tent, meaning her children. And she also allocates a portion to the ones who works for her. And she treats the ones who work for her very similar to her own children. So this is treating as her own children. And so she does not mistreat the servants. And she is the one who is doing the cooking. And she is the one who insists that it must be fresh food, not something left over from yesterday. And since there's no fridge, it needs to be fresh, right? And she does this not when the sun is up, but when the sun is not up. It's still dark, right? It's still dark. That is what the phrase means here. And so this is the kind of character when the woman cares so much for her children, for the people in the house, in the home, that she, being the woman of the house, takes charge of sustenance. See, the husband or the father of the house brings the beef, so to speak, right? Brings back the beef. But the woman of the house makes sure that it is allocated out. It is cooked. It is provided for. And she does it herself. Now you can see that the concern of this woman, the how she looks at her role as the woman of the house, together with the husband, the Lord of the house, as a man of the household who goes out to bring it home. And she is the one who is busy going around everywhere to make sure that the house is fed properly, well, and she does not mistreat her workers. And that is the kind of a concept of this woman that's described at the time of Solomon. So do not think of it here, but look at the principles. The principles of this chapter should be timeless. And the principle of care, of industriousness, of dexterity, of hard working, of concern for the household under her, not mistreating, well, I guess today, not mistreating the maid. And all of this is all rolled up into this woman of worth. And with this, we come to the end of today's session, and we will continue tomorrow from verse 16 onwards. But I hope that we would have better insight over the character. So understand the character, not so much the detail, because it is life at the time of Solomon and not in 21st century. And with this, we come to the end of today's session.